Hi and welcome. This is Rebecca from the Resilient Women Club here with Julia Nguyen, and she is the founder of the Dream Life Foundation and a life coach and hypnotherapist. Welcome.
Thanks, Rebecca. I'm happy to be here, and I'm really excited to share my story with your listeners.
Yes, well, tell me more about yourself.
Yeah, so basically, I grew up in a small town in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and for most of my early years, I came from a first generation immigrant family. So my mom was a single mother raising three kids by herself. And we kind of, didn't have a lot financially. We basically had what we needed, but not anything in excess. And my story really kind of begins in my teenage years when I developed depression. I had depression from the ages of 13 until about 23, when I really got into self-development and learned skills to help me overcome the depression.
Great. So tell me a little bit more how that depression affected you.
Yeah, so to get really personal, like my first suicide attempt was when I was 14 years old. I kind of was in this really toxic relationship with an older
Mm,
guy, and I was 13 when we met. He was 19, and he was an
wow.
alcoholic. So
Okay.
there was a lot of dynamics going on there. I was a teenager, really hormonal, didn't know what was going on, and then in
Yeah.
come this older guy who, kind of destroyed me in a way, but also helped me learn to be resilient as well. So, the suicide attempt was basically a cry for help. I just didn't know how to deal with everything that was going on in my life at the time. My mom was away working all of the time, trying to support the family. My older siblings were kind of, living their own life because we all kind of had to just fend for ourselves. Like we all started working at that age.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like really alone, and I just thought that that was the easiest way out. So that's why I resorted to that. And after the fact, I actually I didn't go to the hospital or anything like that. I just kind of dealt with it on my own. I basically was out of commission for 3 days completely, and
Yeah.
I kind of just laid at home in bed, just letting, my liver detox the medication from my
Mm.
system that I took. And after that, I didn't really talk to anyone about the experience. I tried to see a psychologist a couple of times, but I just felt that they couldn't really help me. And also maybe I wasn't ready to face all of my issues at the time, because therapy is one of those things that's very challenging. And so the depression carried on up until, my early 20s, like I mentioned earlier. And basically, it was this depression that was in the background. And there were periods of time where it would be really, really bad. And it would come back, and I would kind of feel this hopeless feeling where, I felt so lost and confused, and I just hated everything about my life. And then finally, even though I was suffering from the depression, I kind of always had this mentality when things got really bad, I'm going to find a way to figure this out. So that's when I got into self-development.
Okay.
Although for many years, I did, resort to drinking and using drugs and substances to help kind of numb the pain. And I think this is something common, among a lot of people who suffer from depression, whether it's going into overworking yourself or using some sort of method to numb the pain. So that's kind of what it was for a while for me until I got started in self-development.
Great. So tell me, how did that make you a resilient woman?
I think it made me a resilient woman because I learned a lot from the experience, even though, right now, not right now, but at that point, I didn't have the necessary skills to deal with everything that was going on. I learned to build those skills, and I learned to like gain hope and know that, you know, I can take back control of my life. And I learned that I didn't have to be a victim to the past and to what happened to me. Like I had the choice to take responsibility of my life and move on from that point.
Great. Wow, what a powerful story. That's a really great that you've come out on the other side. So tell me a little bit about the tools you used for our audience that helped you overcome and become resilient.
Sorry, it's kind of lagging a little bit. Um, I don't know if it is on your end as well.
A little bit.
A
Yeah,
little
so
bit.
I was just asking about the tools you used, like what
Yeah,
skills
so
you gained.
I think the most important skill I learned was learning to meditate. And I would, you know, attribute like my like overcoming of depression to that, just because it's such a powerful tool that a lot of us really try to avoid. I know it sounds challenging when you first like approach it because you're like, how do I not think, you know?
Right,
But
right.
I think that's a misconception because it's not about not thinking. It's about dissociating from your thoughts and realizing that, you know, the thoughts that you are thinking might not even be like real. They might just be stories you're making up in your mind because you're in like a fear state or something like that, you know? So learning to meditate and like in general, it helps you reduce your stress, but it helps you disidentify from those thoughts and beliefs that you have, whether about yourself, your environment, whatever it is. So I would say like that is the like most essential tool. The second thing is, you know, learning to journal and look within. So I do a
Right.
lot of journaling exercises. I'm always trying to explore my emotions, why I feel the way I feel, and also just like, you know, diving deeper into like my behaviors and habits and how they developed over time and what I can do to alleviate that. And obviously it's an entire process, but I would also say that like reading a lot of self-development books has helped. One of my favorite books is The Power of Now, and it's all about being in the present moment and not being so like stuck to the past or worried about the future.
Mm,
Because I think we tend to do that a lot. And especially when you're suffering from something like depression, like you're always in your head, you know? So this book is like helping you reconnect with, you know, just the present moment, being in the now and just really embracing that, which I think is really helpful too, because it's again, this dissociation from your thoughts.
great. I can definitely relate to depression creating bad habits. So tell me a little bit about how you use all those skills in your current practice and what you do for women.
Yeah, so basically, right now I work as a life coach and hypnotherapist, and the modality I work with is basically all about combining different techniques together and creating like a powerful tool that I can use with my clients. With hypnotherapy, you're able to directly work with the subconscious mind. So, what I do is I take patients through regressions and I learn like when they develop a certain belief and then when they realize that they developed this belief at like such an early age, we can then shift their perspective about what happened because we're all basically kind of like operating from this like 7-year-old mindset, you know, like we all have like these wounds from our childhood and we develop a belief system from it. And so we still think that way, even though we're not consciously aware of it. So, you know, a key part to my therapy is helping them go back to the past and realizing like they're not this child anymore. They have control of their life and they don't have to, you know, suffer and be in that victim state and mentality all of the time. Like it's just freeing them from the past and then also helping them like learn new habits and behaviors, which I do through a hypnosis recording for them to listen to for 21 days to help them build like a new thought process.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Well, I thank you very much for sharing your story. You certainly do represent a resilient women, and I invite you to join our community and be part of the network that I've created to help women. And I hope that you do well in your practice. And maybe we'll have you on again and see where you're going.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you.